Hello and welcome back, and today I want to continue talking about the brand new 53D series from QNAP. Today I'm utilising the TS653D as I've done in my other videos, and I want to talk about surveillance. Of all of the ways in which a number of you can take advantage of your investment in a network attached storage device, surveillance is one of the easiest. It's the ability to add cameras in your home or business environment and then create a surveillance or NVR network video recording setup in your home or business environment for security purposes. It's really straightforward. You have lots of camera licenses included with your NAS, with the added benefit that the latest generation of QNAP NAS arrived with QVR Pro, one of the best surveillance software out there, with loads of options with regards to security, user interface control, pan, tilt, zoom, customizable alerts, going through old recordings, and it is just generally a very, very good surveillance management tool, with the added benefit that this QNAP NAS in question, the 653D and pretty much any QNAP that's got an Intel-based processor and HDMI, allows you to create a standalone surveillance setup with a keyboard, a mouse, and an HDMI monitor over and have a standalone surveillance setup running locally, which doesn't interrupt the NAS being used by other things. In fact, this NAS that you're looking at today is being utilized for a containered Linux VM. There's a VM going to be set up in Windows soon. There's going to be the surveillance running in the background, and I've got a Plex media server running all at the same time. Don't get me wrong, we're using a lot of resources to do that, but in the case of this NAS, it's possible. Now, it's worth highlighting a few things straight off the bat. In today's video, I'm going to be looking at three core applications. I'm going to be looking at QVR Pro, I'm going to be looking at Surveillance Station, and USB Cam 2. I've already touched on a few other things, such as the HDMI output of this NAS and the fact that you can set up an HDMI local access point to this device. So this is what you would see if you connected an HDMI cable, and from here you can access your surveillance station cameras and recordings and control them, or over here you can use the QVR Pro tool to access your cameras, create alerts, and ultimately have a standalone desktop surveillance solution, all the while with the NAS being utilized in real time by your connected users and all of your connected services. The reason I'm using the web browser for most of today's stuff is simply because it's going to be easier to show you. Although QVR Pro has a multifaceted way of letting you access your cameras and recordings simultaneously, I will say that different devices have different needs. Now, the first thing I want to look at is USB Cam 2. Now, this is the most basic app of the three, and it's only barely a surveillance app. The reason I bring it up is it gives you the ability to create and utilize a standard USB camera. As you can see, I've connected here a standard USB web camera and turn it into a camera for surveillance. So if your surveillance center needs a camera on it, or you want a camera pointed at the NAS, you can utilize this software to have a camera constantly mounted that's connected via a USB cable to the NAS. So nice and simple. If we go to the live view here, we can see I haven't assigned the camera yet, although it has found the camera, and adding it is incredibly straightforward. As you can see, there's me. The camera is just behind me with the light just above my head. It's got the name of the camera there. You can set the frames per second. You can set the resolution of the camera. There's lots of options open to you. You can set alerts and volume and more. And from there, click apply. It's also worth highlighting you can use the mobile phone applications to turn an old mobile phone into a webcam. And again, if you want to look at this camera in a real live feed, chances are you are going to have to use some of the options. So if you click the live option, I can turn around, wave at the camera, and there I am. And I'm sure QNAP are absolutely furious about the Synology logo in the background there, but what are you going to do? So there we go, we've got the USB camera right there. So with that camera, there's a lot of things you can do, and this is where the other two applications come into play. Now, the older of the two, and the slightly more rudimentary these days for surveillance platform, is Surveillance Station. It does have a lot of control built into it, but it is looking a little dated. If you are using a Realtek-based NAS, or you're using a NAS with a slightly lower end CPU, chances are you only have access to Surveillance Station. Adding cameras is incredibly straightforward, and you have 4 available camera licenses by default. If you click Add, you can search your local area network for cameras, and then what it will do is find the available cameras on your network. Now, some cameras will be listed if they're on the compatibility list right here. Others, if you select OnViv, will become available on this side. And I've got 2 OnViv cameras in the local area network now, as well as the USB camera that we've just attached. So we can attach all 3 of these cameras if we so choose. I've got 2 in the office around me, so let's start adding these cameras. As we can see, it's found that camera and it asks us to put in the login information for this camera. If we go ahead and run the test, we can see that right now, I see if it's found the camera there. No, it is definitely admin blank. And so it's found the camera for us. It's now just establishing a connection for the camera. We can then click next. And after that, you can add different configuration options of how the quality of the camera recording, what codec you want to be used if multiple are supported. And a lot of these options will heavily depend on your own setup and the kind of camera you are utilizing in your network environment. Next, you've got when do you want the camera recording. And again, very simplistic rules here where you can say when do you want it working, when do you want it not working. So say we want the camera to be running all the time at weekends, but not while people are at the office. You can just create a box, draw over when you want it to stop. So this would be, let's go for 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. Click next, and there you go. The camera is now going to be running all the time apart from that narrow window. And you can add multiple cameras very, very easily indeed. Now, the QNAP surveillance applications do require you to download a client application for your desktop. So you will need to make your way towards the QNAP online platform and download the local tools to your PC to access the camera's live feed. You can access some of the options, but ultimately it is easier to download the tools directly as you see there. Now, Surveillance Station, it's a good tool. It's not the best, and it has seen better days. And that's because the lion's share of the attention and the lion's share of development has moved towards QVR Pro. So if you are looking for a low spec surveillance platform and you're caring more about just the recordings themselves and the ability to control them and set up rudimentary and quite simplistic alerts, you can do it all within Surveillance Station. There's lots of options, and it is a great deal more configurable than I'm seemingly giving it credit for. The reason I'm saying it though is because QVR Pro steals the show. Now, QVR Pro is their enterprise-grade surveillance platform. It arrives with 8 camera licenses by default on your 53D, and it arrives with a far better performance and options open to you. There's even a whole bunch of plugins for different surveillance and network environments that allow you to create a far more customizable landscape for your devices. There's lots of options and licenses becoming available for more cameras, and lots of plugins there in the background that can be utilized for security doors and more. It is worth highlighting, however, that I am utilizing a non-internet based environment for this NAS while I run these tests to show you guys that everything can be done largely with network only access. So unfortunately, there will be the odd gap there. So first thing we need to do is create ourselves an area of storage. This is going to be where our recordings live on the NAS. So it's quite straightforward. We just go into the recording option, the recording storage, open it up, click the Add button, and it will ask us to create an area of recording space. For those that checked out my previous video about hybrid mount, you can create separate areas of storage outside of the NAS, such as cloud services or other NASs, and mount them here. And this means that the recordings on this NAS and these cameras will not only be recorded locally, but you can create a synchronization task whereby all those recordings go to another location off-site, which is hugely beneficial. Because if someone breaks in, it's one thing to have the cameras recording them, but still the NAS, you're bang out of luck. So having a hybrid mount of another area of storage on the cloud or another NAS on another network, recording the footage and synchronizing it with the local NAS is beneficial. From here, we can go ahead and create our area of storage for these cameras. So from here it will ask if we want to use a separate volume or the existing volume. I'm going to use the existing volume as there's plenty of space to play with. We've even got alerts there, but we can create separate volumes for recordings if we so choose. So now we've created our area of storage space, we can move forward to starting to add cameras. We can either click the option here, or we could on the desktop have just selected add camera or camera settings here. Bear in mind, once again, you will need to download the desktop application for your local PC in order to have access to the live camera feeds as well as a better range of configuration options. If you've already installed it like I have, clicking that button on screen will open up the QVR Pro tool directly for you, as you can see here on screen, with lots of options about how to configure, creating zonal areas of tracking and more. Switching back temporarily to the NAS though, we can take a good look on how to add cameras. So if we have a look on screen here, we can see the option to add a camera, and we have all 8 camera licenses available. So just like with Surveillance Station Pro, we can open up the scanning mechanic to look for cameras in the local area network. We've got 3 cameras that should be listed via the OnViv settings, although one of the cameras is now assigned to Surveillance Station and therefore may be restricted and unlisted other than there, but as we can see, it is still available to be found. So let's go ahead this time and attach our USB camera that we created earlier. We can add all 3 if we so choose. So let's add that there, then click next. It will then ask us to enter the login details for these cameras, which is what we're going to do. So we'll add that there, add that there, and the USB camera, add your login credentials for the NAS. As you can see, there's the port. It will ask you about the brand of the camera, and again, if you do have the brand settings, you can go ahead with that, then click next. You can test them all if you like, or you can just go ahead and add them immediately. You can even add the recording settings and where you want the cameras to record to in the short term now. There's lots of options with regards to letting you know what you need to do now and later. So you can either enable standard recording that will record all the time, or start arranging events that can be triggered, such as motion detection, light detection, and more, based on your devices. You can even change the streaming settings of the cameras individually to make sure that the cameras are set up to the perfect means of your own setup. There's lots of configuration options built into QVR Pro. Moving forward, it's saying the camera has been added, and now it's going to add all 3 of our brand new cameras to QVR Pro. As we can see, it's starting to add the cameras. Each of the cameras needs to be initialized and completely connected. The USB camera has already been connected, but these cameras here from Reolink may take an extra little bit longer while they get initialized. It is going to happen eventually though, as you can see here. Now, once again, we can't really view the cameras in any meaningful way here. We can share access to the camera and send a link to another user to see that camera feed, but there's not a vast amount more we can do than that at this stage here in the web browser. Before we make our way over to the desktop client, however, let's have a look at some of the options. We can set up event management that allows us to monitor when events have been triggered, such as motion detection, time of day, and there are even zonal ones that we can set too. So you can set different rules that can go off in different ways and alert different users. And again, you can create a schedule that's active at certain times of the week. So say for example you want to add your first alert. Your first alert, you can say whether you want it to be motion detection, an input alarm, audio detection. It all depends on what your camera supports. And if your camera supports different kinds of alert, or different kinds of stimulus, or different kinds of pixel or motion detection, they will be listed here. On top of that, you can set different alerts with regard to the system, such as hardware faults, disk issues, or other customizable events. Then you can assign them to individual cameras or the entire system and all cameras as soon as one of those events occurs. And then an alert will be sent to connected users and to the desktop and to the app if you so choose. There's lots of options open to you to add events and alerts. If we go back to that desktop screen, we can have a look at the other options. We can change the privileges of the device with regards to different users and assign who can have access to not just the cameras, but who's got access to the control and the recordings. As you see here, as from one of my earlier videos, we created a bunch of random users. We can make sure that only some users have access. So the admin will always have access, but we can set it that Alan has certain improved credentials over other users. So let's say that all of these users here do not have any kind of access to the surveillance cameras. We want to make sure that those users have no access to the cameras. We want Alan to have at least read-only views without the ability to delete. All of those options are readily available. You can even create surveillance-led user groups if you so choose. There's lots of options, and you can change all of the user's configuration and rights all the way here using the user privilege options. Moving along, we can look at license management as described earlier, where you will have to add more licenses if you intend to use more than 8 cameras. But 8 camera licenses included in your QNAP NAS, even down to the 2-bay 53D at around 300 odd quid, is pretty reasonable, and I've got to say, not too shabby for an enterprise grade surveillance solution. My QNAP Cloud allows you to link the surveillance platform with the online access point called QNAP Cloud, which we've set up in one of our previous videos, which allows us to have internet level access to our NAS. Linking your MyQNAP Cloud with the surveillance platform and the account utilizing it will result in you being able to access your camera feeds anywhere in the world. And finally, motion detection. Motion detection allows you to set whether you want these different cameras to be configured and provide alerts for motion detection. You can specify which cameras are going to utilize this support, and also some cameras will have that built in and therefore perform to a greater degree. There's lots of options open to you. And again, configuration is key, with lots of options on what you want to do here in the dedicated control panel. And also remember, over here, people can still use the NAS. All of your connected users can still utilize the NAS, and you can preset all of their privileges and rights to make sure that they cannot access the camera feeds if you don't want them to. So by clicking the QVR Pro client option here, you will get a pop-up that invites you to download the desktop client for your Windows or Mac platform, as well as mobile apps for iOS and Android. If you've already installed it, however, it will appear as this app here on screen. All 3 of the cameras, as you can see, have been added, so we can just drag a camera here into the feed, and as you can see there, we can now see me there. Next, we can drag another camera into the screen, and we can have our 2 camera feed quite easily. And then we can add the 3rd one of me here. So there we've got all 3 of our camera feeds ready. So with this, we have lots of options open to us. Now, you may be getting a choppy resolution on screen because of OBS here. So I apologize, but take my word for it, the resolution I'm looking at here is pretty good. Now, there are lots of things we can do. We can set a manual record if we choose. So if we select a manual record to happen here, we can have this camera manually recording right now with me waving my hand in the air. We can change the volume if it has audio in and out. We can zoom in on different areas of the camera, depending on whether it has digital zoom or optical zoom. We can also create a region of interest, and then with this region of interest, then preset an area that we want to record here. We can do that with all of these. So say we want to create another region of interest here over this chair. We can do that, and therefore create an area whereby we create multiple individual viewpoints, and we can have a multiple camera feed right here, all happening in real time. So all of this is happening right now in real time with all of these camera feeds to the NAS. We can set pre-recording if we choose, and if we're utilizing a camera that supports pan tilt zoom, such as I believe this camera here has the control of pan, tilt, zoom, so we can control this camera in real time and control its motion around the office. Now if we want to zoom in on a particular feed, we can double click right there and it will open the full camera feed here on screen. We've got lots of options open to us, and we can even keep an eye on the system resources being utilized while we're doing this. But bear in mind, these system resources are the local PC and not that of the NAS. We can flick at any given time over to pre-made recordings happening in the background, and the cameras will still continue to record here in the background. We can preset an arrangement of cameras if we so choose, and we can create saved profiles of what we're doing. On top of that, we can then, if we have emaps, you can download emaps of local areas if you've got them created, upload them, and then position the cameras within that network of emaps to show yourself how where each camera is based, and hopefully get a tracking area of movement. There's lots of options open to you. You can even enable hardware acceleration or deceleration if you think the situation requires it. Now, if we go through a lot more of the options, we can find out more about the alert system, notification panels, and more things that we can set up within the device. With lots of options available from QNAP for adding performance cards, as well as a lot of the tutorials and guides that are built into the background, and the ability to scale the recordings in real time. There's lots of ways in which the 53D series from QNAP may well be the perfect surveillance solution for you. If you want to learn more about this, there's far more videos on surveillance to do with QVR Pro and Surveillance Station on the rest of my videos, so I do recommend you check those out. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I'm going to wrap things up here. Let's make our way back to the desktop there, come out of QVR Pro, and make our way back into the NAS. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. We've still got our videos on the QNAP music applications and virtual machine use on a QNAP NAS still to come. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I look forward to seeing you on the next video, and I will see you next time.